The deep hum of the engines filled the air as Captain Adrian Cole stood on the bridge of his ship, the Horizon Spear. Beyond the thick window glass, the alien world of GalacticPrime glowed like a jewel in the darkness of space. Its surface shimmered with rivers of light and massive crystal cities that stretched high into the atmosphere. It was a world humanity had only heard of in legends, a planet ruled by a powerful and ancient alien empire known as the Zerath Dominion. They were advanced, proud, and known for their cold view of other species. For centuries, humanity had stayed away from them, believing the Zerath wanted nothing to do with the young species from Earth. But now, things were different. The Galactic Council had ordered a diplomatic mission. Humanity had become stronger, more respected, and it was time to reach out or at least try. Adrian was chosen to lead this mission because he was known for his calm nature and strong moral code. As the ship approached the planet, Adrian could see the massive defense grid orbiting GalacticPrime. Thousands of alien ships floated in formation, glowing with soft blue energy. Even though they did not fire, their presence alone was intimidating. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mirali, his second-in-command, breaking the silence. "The Zerath control station is asking for identification. They are scanning our ship." "Let them," Adrian replied calmly. "We're guests here. Let's act like it." He straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. The mission was simple: deliver Earth's message of peace and cooperation. But something deep inside him whispered that this visit would not be ordinary. After a few tense minutes, the Zerath finally responded. A calm, almost musical voice came through the speaker. "Human vessel Horizon Spear, you are permitted to land at the Imperial Palace landing zone. The Queen herself will meet you. Do not deviate from the flight path." Mira's eyes widened. "The Queen herself? That's unusual." Adrian nodded slowly. "Yes, let's not keep her waiting." The landing on GalacticPrime was smooth but heavy with tension. As the human ship descended through the glowing sky, Adrian saw massive crystalline towers that seemed to sing with energy. The ground below sparkled with alien light. Even though the planet looked beautiful, the weight of the moment pressed down on him. At the bottom of the ramp, dozens of tall Zerath guards stood in perfect lines. They wore silver armor that reflected the light around them, their faces hidden behind sleek masks. None moved or spoke. Then the crowd parted. Walking between them came the alien Queen Seraphis, tall, graceful, and glowing faintly as if her body carried living energy. Her skin was a shade of violet mixed with silver, and her eyes shone like twin stars. Her every step seemed to echo across the landing zone. Adrian stepped forward with a formal nod. "Your Majesty, I am Captain Adrian Cole of the United Earth Fleet. It is an honor to—" He never finished his sentence. The Queen stopped in front of him, her bright eyes widening as if she had seen a ghost. Her expression shifted from calm to shock, then to something close to reverence. For a long, silent moment, she simply looked at him. Then, without warning, she dropped to her knees. The sound of her armor touching the crystal floor echoed through the silent courtyard. Every Zerath soldier gasped and immediately followed her example, kneeling in perfect unison before the stunned human captain. Adrian froze. His mind refused to believe what he was seeing. "Your Majesty," he said softly. "What are you doing?" But she didn't answer right away. Her head was bowed, and her glowing eyes stared at the floor as she whispered in her melodic voice. "It cannot be. The mark of the monarch returned at last." Mira took a step forward, her hand on her sidearm. "Captain, what is happening?" she whispered. Adrian slowly raised his hand to calm her. "It's all right," he said, though his heart was racing. "I have no idea what's going on, but don't make any sudden moves." The Queen slowly looked up at him again. "Show me your hand," she said softly, her voice trembling. "My hand?" "Yes, she said. "Please." Adrian hesitated but removed his glove. As he lifted his bare hand, a faint golden glow appeared on his skin, a small circular mark he had since birth. He always thought it was just a strange birthmark. But now in the light of the Zerath world, it shimmered and pulsed with energy. The Queen gasped. A ripple of energy passed through the crowd. Several Zerath soldiers whispered among themselves, their metallic voices echoing in disbelief. "The prophecy," one of them murmured. "It is real." Adrian looked at the mark, then at the Queen. "What prophecy? What are you talking about?" But she only bowed her head lower. "Forgive me, my lord. We did not know your form would return among the stars of the lesser world." Adrian took a small step back, shaking his head. No, I think you've made a mistake. I'm just a human. I'm not. You are the one foretold, the Queen interrupted gently. The one who vanished into the void thousands of cycles ago. The starborn monarch, reborn. The air around them seemed to hum with energy. The guards stayed kneeling, not daring to raise their heads. Mira glanced at Adrian, her voice barely above a whisper. Captain, I think she believes you're some kind of god. Adrian's voice was tight. That's impossible. The Queen slowly rose to her feet, her tall figure standing close to him now. Her eyes glowed brighter as she studied his face, almost searching for proof of what she wanted to believe. Your essence, she said softly, matches the resonance of the ancient temples. The mark answers to our technology. It cannot lie. Adrian forced a nervous smile. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe my DNA has something similar. But before he could finish, the ground beneath them trembled. The crystal floor glowed beneath his boots, reacting to his presence. The mark on his hand shone brighter than ever, casting golden light across the Queen's face. She looked at the glowing ground, then back at him, her voice full of awe. Even the planet recognizes you. Adrian's stomach turned. He had no idea what kind of mess he had walked into. Later, as the Queen led them through the palace, the human crew could only stare at the alien world around them. The halls were filled with floating lights and living crystal structures that changed color as they passed. Every Zirath they met bowed their heads low when they saw Adrian. He tried to remain calm, but inside he was full of questions. Why him? What was this mark? Why would an alien queen kneel to a human she had never met? When they finally reached the throne room, the Queen turned to him once more. There is much you do not yet understand, she said, but the prophecy is clear. You have returned to restore balance to the stars. Adrian met her gaze firmly. With all respect, Your Majesty, I'm not a ruler. I'm just a man trying to build peace between our species. The Queen smiled faintly. Then perhaps that is exactly why the stars chose you. As the great doors closed behind them, Adrian felt a strange pull deep inside him, like a whisper in his mind, ancient and powerful, calling his name. He looked at his glowing hand once more and whispered to himself, What are you trying to tell me? In the silence of the alien throne room, only the soft hum of energy answered. But the universe itself seemed to be watching, and Adrian knew somehow that his life and in humanity's place among the stars would never be the same again. The throne room of Zirath Prime was unlike anything Captain Adrian Cole had ever seen. Its walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with light, casting colors across the high ceilings. The floor shimmered underfoot, reflecting the stars outside the vast windows. It was a place of ancient power, quiet yet vibrant, and Adrian could feel the weight of history in every corner. Queen Seraphis stood beside him, tall and graceful, her violet silver skin glowing faintly in the light. The moment she had knelt before him earlier still echoed in his mind. How could a being so powerful bow to a human, a species so young in the galaxy? The question spun in his mind like a storm. You must understand, Captain, the Queen began, her voice calm yet tinged with awe. Your presence here is not a coincidence. There is a reason the prophecy has chosen you. Adrian tried to mask his unease with a wry smile. I'm afraid I'm not very good with prophecies. Usually there's stories to scare children. Seraphis's eyes softened. This is no story, it is real. Thousands of cycles ago, our people believed in the starborn monarch, a ruler who would rise to unite the galaxy and protect both the Zirath and other species. The monarch disappeared into legend long before your civilization even reached the stars. Adrian frowned. And you think that I'm this monarch? Yes, the Queen said simply. Your hand carries the mark of the monarch. It is the same symbol etched into every temple and throne across Zirath Prime. Only the monarch may awaken its true power. Adrian looked down at his hand. The small birthmark, which he had always thought was nothing more than a childhood blemish, now glowed faintly. It pulsed in the same rhythm as the crystal walls, like it was alive. Mira Lee, who had been standing silently behind him, stepped forward. Captain, what is she saying? That mark? It glows because of you? I don't know, Adrian admitted. His voice shook slightly. It's just a mark I've had since I was born. Queen Seraphis shook her head, her long hair flowing behind her. It is not just a mark. It is a key, a signal, a connection to the energy of this world. You are linked to the starborn monarch not by choice but by blood, or rather by essence. Adrian's stomach tightened. Blood? Essence? I'm human. There's nothing extraordinary about me. The Queen's eyes met his, steady and unwavering. The human species may seem fragile, Captain, but the prophecy speaks of resilience. The monarch was said to return in a fragile form from a distant world, to bring unity where there is discord. That form is you. Adrian shook his head in disbelief. That can't be. I'm just a soldier. I've fought battles, yes, but I've never commanded empires, never controlled power beyond my ship. Seraphis' voice grew softer, and yet the moment you stepped onto this world, the planet itself acknowledged you. The crystal floors, the temples, even our technology responded. It is as though the universe itself recognizes the monarch. Adrian looked around the throne room. The crystals shimmered with a strange energy. When he raised his hand, the glow intensified. He could feel warmth, almost like a heartbeat spreading from the mark across his arm. His mind raced. This is impossible. It is not impossible, the Queen said. It is real. And it is why I knelt before you. I could not ignore what I saw. Your presence fulfills a prophecy older than our people. A silence fell in the room as Adrian tried to process her words. He wanted to dismiss it as fantasy, but the truth of the glowing mark and the reaction of the Queen made disbelief harder to maintain. Why me? He asked quietly. Why would this monarch be reborn as a human? Seraphis approached him, her steps silent. The universe works in ways beyond comprehension. Sometimes strength comes in forms that seem weak. The monarch must return in a species that has the courage to endure, the ingenuity to survive, and the compassion to lead without cruelty. Your species, fragile though it seems, carries those traits. Adrian swallowed. I don't feel special. I've lost friends, made mistakes, and barely survived my own missions. How can that make me a ruler of anything? You misunderstand, Seraphis replied gently. The monarch does not lead through fear or domination. The monarch leads through the strength of spirit, through understanding, through sacrifice. You carry that spirit whether you know it or not. Mira stepped closer to Adrian. Captain, if what she's saying is true, then this isn't just a diplomatic mission anymore. You might be the most important human alive right now. Adrian looked at her, a mix of fear and awe in his eyes. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not ready. And maybe I never will be. The Queen studied him, her glowing eyes kind but firm. You are already chosen. Choice is only in how you fulfill your role. Deny it and you risk chaos. Accept it and you may bring balance. Adrian felt a chill run down his spine. The gravity of the situation pressed on him like a weight. Humanity had reached out to the stars seeking allies, and now he stood as a bridge or perhaps a beacon, to one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Then the Queen gestured to a large door at the far end of the throne room. There is something you must see, she said. The Temple of the Ancients. It holds records and memories of the monarch. Perhaps it will help you understand who you are meant to be. Adrian followed her, the glow of his mark growing stronger with each step. He passed countless Zerath citizens bowing respectfully, their eyes filled with a mixture of fear, hope, and awe. It was strange to feel so revered by beings who had once considered humans insignificant. The Temple of the Ancients was vast, larger than any cathedral on Earth. Massive crystal pillars reached toward a ceiling lost in shadow, each etched with golden symbols that shimmered faintly. As Adrian stepped forward, the crystals pulsed in response, casting glowing patterns across his skin. This temple contains knowledge of the starborn monarch, Seraphis explained. It is said that only the true monarch can awaken the temple's memory. Adrian hesitated before a large pedestal in the center. It was made of solid crystal, and on its surface was a circular indentation shaped exactly like his mark. He felt a strange pull in his chest, urging him forward. Place your hand here, the Queen instructed softly. With trembling fingers, Adrian obeyed. The moment his hand touched the crystal, a surge of energy shot through him. Light exploded across the temple walls and holographic images appeared in the air. Ancient battles, majestic rulers, and alien worlds long forgotten unfolded before him. Voices echoed through the chamber, soft and musical. The monarch has returned. The starborn essence awakens once more. Adrian staggered back. What is this? This is the history of the monarch, Seraphis said. Your ancestors, or the essence that preceded your species. We're part of a great cosmic legacy. Your birth was marked to carry this energy across the stars. Adrian's mind spun. The energy, the prophecy, the queen kneeling. It all made no sense, and yet he could not deny it. Something within him felt ancient, powerful and aware in a way that went beyond human understanding. Mira whispered behind him, "Captain, this is incredible. If it's true, we're not just exploring. We're witnessing history being reborn." Adrian shook his head, trying to grasp reality. "I don't even know if I'm ready for this. I came here to talk to aliens, not to become some cosmic ruler." Seraphis' voice was gentle but firm. "Readiness comes with time, Captain. But the mark has chosen you. The galaxy waits whether you are ready or not." Adrian looked down at his glowing hand, the symbol pulsing with life. For the first, the glow of the Temple of the Ancients faded slowly as Captain Adrian Cole left its grand halls. He felt lighter yet heavier at the same time. Lighter because a part of him now understood his connection to the alien world. Heavier because of the weight of what that connection demanded. The story of the Starborn monarch, the ancient ruler who had once unified the galaxy, was now no longer a legend. It had chosen him. Queen Seraphis walked beside him, her expression calm but guarded. Her violet-silver skin shimmered faintly under the light of the palace's crystal walls. Though Adrian had witnessed her kneeling before him, he now understood that the act had not been one of weakness, but of recognition. "You've seen the temple," she said softly, "and now you know a fraction of your legacy. But you must understand, Captain, knowledge alone does not grant peace. There are those among my people who will resist your presence, some quietly, some with force." Adrian nodded, though unease prickled at the edges of his mind. "I understand, Your Majesty. But I didn't come here to rule. I came to talk. To build trust between our species." Seraphis' eyes flickered, a mixture of respect and concern. "Then we must tread carefully. Power, even when unclaimed, draws attention, both loyal and hostile. You may have awakened a hope that some wish to destroy." The first sign of trouble came quickly. A small but determined faction of Zirath generals and nobles, led by the cold and calculating General Korvath, had begun to spread rumors among the Empire. They whispered that Adrian was an imposter, a human who had somehow tricked the Queen into kneeling before him. They claimed that the prophecy was false, that humans were nothing more than weaklings unfit to command Zirath technology or influence. Korvath's followers gathered in secret, plotting ways to undermine the Queen and remove Adrian from the capital. They saw his presence as a threat to their centuries-old power and hierarchy. Each day, Adrian and his crew could sense the growing tension among the palace's inhabitants. The cold stares of some officials and the hurried whispers whenever he passed. Adrian didn't understand it at first. He was a soldier, trained for combat and diplomacy, but not for intrigue on a planetary scale. Mira noticed his concern. "Captain," she said quietly, "there's more going on than you realize. These generals, they don't just want to question you, some of them want you gone." "I've faced enemies before," Adrian replied, his jaw tight. "But this is different. They're not attacking with weapons yet. They're attacking with doubt and fear. And in some ways, that might be harder to defend against." The first serious incident occurred during a meeting of the Zirath Council. Adrian, Queen Seraphis, and a group of council members gathered to discuss trade, diplomacy, and alliances. As Adrian addressed the council, a sudden tremor shook the room. Lights flickered, and the massive crystal pillars emitted a low hum. Adrian froze. The glow of his mark on his hand began to pulse uncontrollably. The council members looked at him, fear spreading across their faces. Queen Seraphis moved swiftly to his side, her hand glowing with protective energy. "It is the mark," someone shouted. "The prophecy is real." But Korvath, seated across the hall, smirked. "Or perhaps it is a trick. The human touches the crystal and it responds. Do you not see? This is manipulation. A human meddling with our sacred energy." Adrian tried to speak to explain that he had not intended anything, but the tremor continued, stronger than before. Crystals in the walls pulsed with golden light, reacting to him as if the room itself recognized his power. Seraphis placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not fear, Adrian. Control comes with understanding, focus." Taking a deep breath, Adrian closed his eyes. He thought about the temple, the stories he had just seen, and the purpose of the Starborn monarch. Slowly, the pulse of the crystal room slowed, responding to his calm mind. The council gasped as the golden glow stabilized. Korvath's smile faltered. This is unnatural. A human controlling sacred energy? Blasphemy. Adrian opened his eyes. I do not want to fight you, he said clearly. I do not want to rule by force. But I will not allow fear to destroy what could be peace. As the days passed, Korvath's opposition grew more organized. Secret assassination attempts were made, traps laid for the human captain. But every time Adrian was in danger, the mark on his hand reacted, emitting energy that protected him. It was as though the essence of the starborn monarch, long dormant, had awakened within him. The queen risked her own life countless times to keep him safe. Each night she would appear beside him, her eyes calm but worried. The council is divided, she said one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. Korvath will strike soon. The prophecy has given hope to some, but it has also inspired fear in others. You must be ready, Adrian. I don't even know what I'm ready for, he admitted. I'm just trying to survive long enough to figure out what all of this means. Seraphis looked at him, her voice steady. Sometimes survival is the first test. You have awakened power within you, but it is your choices that will determine whether it becomes a weapon or a shield. The first battle came sooner than anyone expected. Korvath led a fleet of rogue Zerath ships to attack the capital city. They struck in the dead of night, their ships cloaked to avoid detection. Alarms blared, crystal walls shimmered with defensive energy, and the queen quickly assembled loyal forces to defend the city. Adrian, though untrained in commanding fleets of aliens, felt a surge of understanding. The mark on his hand glowed brighter than ever. As he raised his hand toward the sky, a wave of energy spread outward, disabling the attacking ships. Their weapons fizzled, engines stalled, and the rogue fleet was forced to retreat. The queen's eyes shone with admiration. The prophecy is not just words, she said. It is real. The starborn essence flows within you. Adrian stared at his glowing hand, realizing that the power he carried was beyond anything he had imagined. I don't want this, he said quietly. I never wanted to be a weapon. Seraphis placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Then be a shield, not a weapon. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is the way of the monarch. The aftermath of the attack left the city tense. Korvath had retreated, but his message was clear. Some Zerath would never accept a human in this role. Adrian knew he had to act quickly, not just to maintain peace, but to prevent civil war. He called a council meeting, standing before both loyalists and skeptics alike. I am not your enemy, he said, his voice firm but calm. I do not seek your throne or your power. I am here to protect your people and to ensure that our two species can coexist. That is all. Murmurs spread across the hall. Some nodded, inspired by his honesty. Others scowled, their doubts unshaken. But the mark on his hand glowed steadily, a visible reminder of the ancient prophecy and the power he carried. Korvath, seated in the shadows, clenched his fists. You may have power now, human, he muttered. But power is only meaningful when it is taken, not given. You will see the true strength of the Zerath soon enough. Adrian met his gaze without fear. I will meet it with peace, he said. And if you choose war, then the galaxy will remember why humanity has always survived against the odds. By the end of the week, the capital had calmed, but the tension remained. Adrian spent his nights in quiet reflection, trying to understand the essence of the starborn monarch within him. He practiced controlling the energy of his mark, learning to direct it with thought alone. With every attempt, he felt more in tune with the temple's memories and the history of the ancient rulers. Queen Seraphis remained at his side, teaching him the ways of her people, their technology, and their philosophy. Slowly, he realized the dawn over GalacticPrime was unlike any dawn Adrian Cole had ever seen. The sky shimmered in layers of gold and violet, reflecting off the crystal towers that stretched endlessly toward the heavens. Yet beauty could not mask the tension gripping the capital city. Whispers of rebellion still spread through the palace halls, and loyal citizens knew that the fragile peace they had fought to maintain could shatter at any moment. Adrian stood at the top of the palace balcony, looking down at the streets far below. People moved carefully, some bowing to him in respect, others glancing nervously as if fearing what the next day might bring. The mark on his hand pulsed faintly, a reminder of the starborn monarch's legacy flowing through him. Queen Seraphis approached quietly, her steps soundless against the crystal floor. Korvath grows bolder, she said, her voice low but firm. The council is divided. Many Zerath now openly question my loyalty to you, and some have already declared war. The rebellion spreads like wildfire. Adrian turned to face her, determination shining in his eyes. Then we cannot wait. We have to act before it spreads further. We need to show them that peace is stronger than fear. Seraphis nodded. And yet strength alone is not enough. You must show them the true power of the monarch, not to dominate but to protect and inspire. That is the path of the Starborn. The first confrontation came faster than expected. Korvath, the rebellious general, led a fleet of heavily armed ships to attack the capital. Cloaked and nearly invisible until they struck, the fleet descended like a storm, weapons ready to fire upon the crystal towers and the citizens below. Alarms blared through the palace. Adrian felt a strange tension coil in his chest as he watched the approaching ships. The mark on his hand pulsed violently, as if it could sense the danger before him. Seraphis raised her hand, and energy surged from the palace walls, forming protective barriers around the towers and streets. Yet Korvath's fleet was relentless. Explosions erupted in the distance and citizens fled to safer streets. "Captain," Mira shouted, "we need to do something. They're going to destroy the city." Adrian's hand glowed brighter, golden light spreading across his arm. He raised it toward the sky, focusing on the energy within him, letting it flow through the mark. The light expanded outward, surrounding the attacking ships. Their engines sputtered, weapons went silent, and the fleet hovered powerless in the sky. Korvath's command ship glowed under the light, but he shouted into the communication channel. "This is not over, human. You have interfered with Zerath. The rebellion will continue." Adrian lowered his hand, letting the energy settle. "I do not want war," he said firmly, his voice carrying across the city. "But I will not allow destruction. The people of Zerath deserve peace." The Queen's loyal forces rallied around him. Soldiers who had once doubted the prophecy now followed his lead with unwavering faith. They organized defenses, evacuated civilians, and worked to repair the damaged structures. Citizens looked up at Adrian with a mixture of fear, awe, and hope, seeing a human who carried not just energy, but the courage and compassion that defined the Starborn monarch. Adrian realized that power alone was meaningless without guidance. He focused not on destruction, but on protection. Every wave of energy he released was designed to shield, to defend, to inspire confidence in those who watched. The mark on his hand pulsed in harmony with his intentions, responding to the purity of his purpose rather than his fear. Mira stood beside him, her voice full of admiration. "Captain, you're not just controlling energy. You're showing them what it means to lead. You're not a weapon. You're a shield." Adrian exhaled slowly. "Then that's what I will be, a shield. If the prophecy chose me for this, I will protect, not destroy." Korvath's rebellion was relentless. His fleet continued to attack, this time targeting the outskirts of the city. He sent infiltrators into the palace, hoping to seize Adrian or the Queen, but every attempt failed. Adrian's mark reacted instinctively, creating energy barriers that blocked attacks and trapped intruders until they could be safely contained. The citizens began to rally as well. Inspired by Adrian's courage and the Queen's loyalty, humans and Zerath worked side by side, repairing streets, defending neighborhoods, and helping the wounded. The people of Zerath had always respected strength, but now they began to understand the power of compassion and leadership. In a quiet moment, Adrian and Seraphis stood on a high balcony overlooking the city. "Do you see?" she asked, pointing toward the glowing streets below. "They are beginning to trust you, not because of fear, but because they see the strength of your heart. That is the true power of the Starborn monarch." Adrian shook his head, a small smile on his face. "I never thought humans could be leaders in the stars. We've always fought, survived. Barely, but this feels different. Maybe we're stronger than we thought." Seraphis's eyes glimmered. "You are not alone, Adrian. Humanity has arrived among the stars and the monarch has returned. Together, we can change the fate of the galaxy." The final confrontation came on the third day of the rebellion. Korvath led his entire fleet to the capital, determined to crush the Queen and Adrian once and for all. The sky turned dark as ships filled the horizon, weapons ready to fire. The city's defenses shone brightly, but the sheer size of the assault was overwhelming. Adrian stood at the forefront, the mark on his hand blazing with golden light. "This ends now," he said. his voice carrying over the roar of engines and the hum of crystal defenses. "I do not wish to fight, but I will defend this city and its people with everything I have." He raised his hand toward the sky, letting the starborn energy flow through him completely. A wave of golden light erupted, engulfing the enemy fleet. Engines failed, weapons short-circuited, and ships tumbled through the sky. The citizens below watched in awe, seeing not destruction but protection. Korvath's command ship struggled to escape, but the energy held it in place. Adrian focused on him not to harm but to stop the violence. "Korvath!" he shouted. "This is your last chance! Lay down your arms and end the war." Korvath glared from his ship, his voice filled with rage. "I will not bow to a human. The prophecy is false. You will fail." Adrian's mark pulsed brighter, sending a wave of energy that immobilized Korvath's ship without harming him. "I do not want to rule through fear," Adrian said calmly. "I want to protect. Let this end with peace, not blood." After a tense moment, Korvath's ship powered down, the general realizing that further resistance would be useless. The rebellion had failed, but the lesson had been learned. Adrian's power was not for conquest. It was for unity. The city slowly returned to normal. Streets were repaired, and citizens began to rebuild their lives. Adrian, though exhausted, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had faced his first major test as the Starborn monarch, and had survived, not through violence but through compassion and strength. The queen approached him, her violet silver eyes shining with pride. "You have done more than survive, Adrian. You have shown my people that humanity is worthy of trust and respect. The rebellion is over and peace has been restored." Adrian looked down at his hand, the mark pulsing gently, as if acknowledging the trials he had endured. "I'm still not sure I'm ready," he admitted. "There is so much I don't understand, so much I still have to learn." Seraphis smiled faintly. "Readiness is not a requirement of the prophecy." The skies over ZerathPrime glowed softly as the first light of dawn spread across the crystal towers. The rebellion led by General Korvath had been defeated, but the air was still thick with tension. Adrian Cole stood on the palace balcony, the mark of the Starborn monarch pulsing faintly on his hand. He had survived battles, faced rebellion, and learned the power that the universe had placed within him. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. Queen Seraphis approached quietly, her violet silver skin shimmering in the morning light. "The council is healing," she said. "The people are beginning to trust humanity, and your actions have inspired hope. But the galaxy is vast and our work is far from over." Adrian nodded. "I understand. We've won a battle, but peace, real peace, is never easy. It has to be built every day with patience and care." Seraphis smiled faintly. "And you have the heart to do it. That is why the prophecy chose you, not for strength alone, but for courage and compassion." The first task was to unite the Zerath Empire. Adrian worked closely with Queen Seraphis to rebuild trust among the council members. He spoke to those who had doubted him, showing that his intentions were not to rule by force but to protect and guide. Slowly, skeptics began to see the truth in his words. Mira observed from the side, noting the reactions of the Zerath Council. "Captain," she whispered one day, "I've never seen diplomacy like this." "You're not just leading them. You're inspiring them. They're starting to believe in something greater than themselves." Adrian smiled faintly. Maybe that's what the Starborn monarch was always meant to do. Not to conquer, but to awaken hope. While the council worked toward unity, Adrian focused on the citizens of ZerathPrime. He traveled across the crystal cities, speaking to the people, helping repair damaged districts, and sharing knowledge from Earth. Everywhere he went, the glowing mark on his hand reminded the Zerath of the prophecy, strengthening their trust. Children followed him through the streets, curious and wide-eyed. Elder Zerath shared stories of the Starborn monarch, now spoken as if Adrian were living proof of ancient tales. The blend of fear, respect, and admiration slowly turned into hope and friendship. Adrian realized that the true legacy of the monarch was not just power, but connection. To unite two worlds, he had to understand both, respect both, and inspire both. Humanity was not alone in the stars anymore. They were part of a story that spanned millennia. Yet even as peace settled over ZerathPrime, Adrian sensed a deeper presence watching from the stars. During quiet nights, the mark on his hand would glow without reason. sending warmth and a soft pulse of energy that seemed like a distant whisper. He could not understand it fully, but it reminded him that the universe was vast and full of unknowns. One evening, Seraphis joined him on the balcony. "Do you feel it too?" she asked. Adrian nodded. "Yes, it's like the universe itself is speaking to me. I don't understand what it wants yet, but I know there's more to come." Seraphis placed her hand on his shoulder. "The prophecy does not end with one battle or one planet. The Starborn Monarch's legacy stretches across the galaxy. You were chosen to bring hope where it is needed, to unite what is divided and to prepare for challenges beyond imagination." Adrian took a deep breath, the pulse of the mark steadying him. "Then we prepare. Humanity and Zirath, together." Months passed as the Union of Light, a new alliance between Earth and the Zirath Empire, began to take shape. Trade routes were established, education programs were shared, and cities across both worlds flourished. Humanity's presence in the galaxy was no longer that of outsiders. They were partners, teachers, and allies. Adrian continued to train with the Queen, learning more about the Starborn Monarch's energy. He discovered that it could heal, protect, and even accelerate growth in barren worlds. With every mission, he became more attuned to the power within him, understanding that leadership was not just about action, but about intention. Mira often teased him lightly during these sessions. "Captain, you're glowing more than usual again. Are you going to start a festival of light or something?" Adrian chuckled, feeling the light of his mark warm his arm. "Maybe one day, Mira. For now, I think we focus on rebuilding the galaxy." One day, a signal arrived from the edge of the galaxy. It was faint but unmistakable, an ancient frequency, the same resonance as the Starborn Monarch. Adrian felt a shiver run through him as the mark on his hand pulsed strongly, reacting to the distant signal. Seraphis's eyes widened. "It cannot be. The true enemy may be awakening." The Starborn prophecy warned of a force beyond the known galaxy, waiting for the monarch to rise again. Adrian's jaw tightened. "Then we prepare. The galaxy will know that humanity is ready, that we are not just survivors, we are guardians." The Queen nodded. "You have learned much, Adrian, but your journey is far from over. Together we will face whatever comes next, and humanity's light will shine across the stars." As the days turned to weeks, Adrian traveled between worlds, teaching, building alliances, and using the Starborn energy to heal and protect. He saw barren planets bloom again, destroyed cities rise from the ashes, and fearful species find hope in humanity's example. The mark on his hand pulsed gently, no longer a source of fear, but a symbol of guidance. On GalacticPrime, citizens began to celebrate not just Adrian or the prophecy, but the union of two civilizations. Festivals of light were held in the crystal cities, honoring both human ingenuity and Zirath tradition. Children learned stories of courage, compassion, and the Starborn monarch who had returned in human form. Adrian often walked through the streets, greeting people, answering questions, and sharing small moments of joy. Despite the power he carried, he remained humble, remembering the lessons of the Queen and the ancient temple. Leadership is not measured in energy or force, but in trust and empathy. Yet, even in peace, a quiet awareness lingered. Adrian knew the distant signal was a reminder that the universe was vast, and not all who watched it were benevolent. But for the first time, he felt ready. He had learned to control his power, to inspire, and to protect. Humanity had arrived in the stars, and they were no longer insignificant. Queen Seraphis stood beside him one evening as the twin suns set over the crystal towers. "You have done well, Adrian. The rebellion is over, the council trusts you, and the people see your heart. Humanity's place in the galaxy is secure, for now." Adrian looked at the glowing horizon. "For now," he repeated. "But the universe is vast, and whatever comes next, we face it together." The Queen smiled faintly. "Indeed, you are no longer just a human soldier. You are the Starborn monarch, and your legacy will guide both our peoples for generations to come." Adrian looked at his hand, the mark pulsing gently, a reminder of what had been entrusted to him. "Then we'll make sure that legacy is one of hope, not fear. One of unity, not division." The people of GalacticPrime cheered in the streets below, a celebration of life, hope, and the union of worlds. Humanity's legend had begun, and the Starborn monarch's light shone brighter than ever. Even as the distant stars beckoned with unknown challenges, Adrian felt a sense of calm. The galaxy was vast, but humanity had arrived, strong, compassionate, and ready. The universe had chosen them as part of its story, and the story was just beginning. With Queen Seraphis by his side, Adrian knew that whatever awaited them among the stars, they would face it together. Humanity had truly earned its place among the stars, and the legend of the starborn monarch would guide the galaxy for centuries to come. The mark on his hand glowed softly, a quiet promise of the future, a future of hope, unity, and endless possibility.